Hello, everyone. Welcome. This is your Good Morning Minute. I'm Angelina Mojica, and I'm excited to introduce Franchette Dyer, who is here to talk about rising above all adversity. So, rising from the ashes, we are talking about a woman who overcame overwhelming adversity challenge that would have stopped anyone in their tracks. But instead of giving in, she rose from the ashes, turning her trials into triumphs and her pain into purpose. So, everyone, let's welcome. All right, Franchetta, please introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Franchetta. I'm a military spouse, and I own my own company called Vetech Business Services, where I actually help military families transition into government and professional jobs. And I believe in helping everyone. I help the service member, then I speak to the military spouse to make sure they have a free resume, as well as the dependents and helping them get into colleges.
Awesome. We are excited to have you. I'm excited to have you as a guest. And I just want to just jump into it. Let's go ahead and talk about some of those challenges that you faced as you are developing this career and you're in the midst of it all. Help us see that journey.
Some of the things that you have to look at when you are, and I'm going to use military spouse because that is what I am, is that you have to understand your time, your family, and then yourself. And with that, sometimes we get lost. And as for me, I had to reintroduce myself when we went overseas for 9 years. I had to reintroduce Franchetta Dyer. I had to almost be like a phoenix. I had to take everything off, let it burn, and then come out the ashes and reinvent myself. But I had to do that with accountability, with putting myself out there, with introducing myself to other individuals so that they knew I was present so that I could get a job. And one of my biggest, I guess, weaknesses, but for me, it's a strength, is that I stutter. And so, being that I stutter, I always like to speak to individuals because I believe that you can take a weakness and make it into a strength. And that will allow you to get over anything. So, always take your strengths or your weaknesses and you make them a gold. Don't
Mhm.
make them strongholds that hold you back.
And I love that you're sharing some of those vulnerabilities with us because it's so true. And I like how you say weaknesses versus strengths. I normalize weaknesses as areas of development because I never want to proclaim it as something that I'm never going to evolve or develop further.
Exactly.
It may not be the strength that I lean on
Yeah.
primarily, but it's definitely something that I would always work on. Okay, so you're having to reinvent yourself as a
Yes.
military spouse
Yes.
because you're traveling and I mean you'll get things going and established and then the next thing you know you're off to the next station or wherever that's leading you. So how did that impact some of your daily life and me even your mental health?
Well, the first thing was when my husband asked me to marry him, we had not discussed it.
Mhm.
So the night before he asked me, the company that I was working for in Arizona, we was talking about maybe me taking on her position because she was leaving. So we was very excited about that. So I was going to tell him about that. And before I could tell him about that experience of that I might be moving up, he told me, would I marry him? Asked me to marry him and we were moving. So my career that I had been waiting for years had was dropped in my lap was now back out into the universe. And so I had to think about that. And being that my foundation is, I base everything on my faith. And I had parents that had been married close to 70 years. And I saw what that looked like. And so
Mhm.
for me, I knew I had to follow my husband. And that's what I did. So we made that decision to, be married and yet travel overseas. But with that, the mental health piece of it is you have to know who you are.
Mhm.
And you can't find out who you are when you become a military spouse or when you become a teenager, when you become a woman. This is when I know my identity. No, I knew my identity at 5 and 6 years old
Mhm.
because I saw my mother and father and what they presented, and that's who they were. So for me, I knew who I wanted to be. I knew how a woman should carry herself. I knew how a man should treat a woman. And
Mm,
that's very important because that is a part of being married to a service member. And it's different because they have to go to these different locations. They don't have a choice. Where you do, you can either stay behind or you follow your spouse, depending on the situation. And so mentally, I had to wrap my head around moving to Germany.
mm,
And that is what I did. I wrapped my head around moving to Germany. And then on top of that, when we got off the bus, it rained, sleeted, and hail all at the same time before I reached, you know, the destination. And all I did was I looked around the hotel and I told my husband, this could be home. And
mm,
that was my mentality, is that wherever he was, that was home for me. But also he didn't have a choice. So I had to make a decision. Do I complain or do I do something about it? So I held myself accountable and started reaching out to individuals who was making decisions on employment. And my
mm,
husband didn't even know it. I was up there at his unit speaking to someone about employment. So I had to take my own steps. I did not rely on my husband, even though I could have. I relied on Franchetta because I knew how strong I was. I knew
mm,
what I was capable of. And so you have to be able to know your strengths and weaknesses, as we talked about earlier, but you also have to have accountability. And
mm.
I think as a woman, accountability is something that we sometimes push on everyone else when things go wrong. We have to be accountable for some things that go wrong. We have to be accountable for those things.
Mm. And I love that you're saying accountability because it's so true. I mean, we all contribute to our own choices, whether we make a choice or don't make a choice. Not making a choice is a choice. It's deciding not to not to take action for sure. But you're right. We have to take accountability because whatever comes with that, that was our decision for
Yes.
for the most of it. Um, and I like how you're discussing relationship commitment. And I know that's a whole nother topic that I could probably speak to. And I probably will have you come back and we'll talk about relationship commitments. But
Definitely.
yeah, for sure. But okay, so you're in Germany, and so there's a societal and culture factors that are also contributing to some of these difficulties. What were they?
Um, First was the language. Okay, that was a big thing, but I went to Head Start and I wasn't great with speaking German at all. But the one thing that you have to remember in any culture, any language, is smiles and hugs make a difference, and trying. So I would try to speak the language, and when I would fumble through it, then they would say, French fries. I was like, yes, thank you. So it was fun to try, but then the culture became more of understanding you as a person. And so because my personality was big, I guess, I didn't have that problem where a lot of them was like, well, how can you go to these places and you don't even speak the language? It wasn't about the language. It was about the respect that you gave when you walked through the door, and that they felt that you was respecting them. So for
Mm,
me, it has never been, the language, yes, but I found other ways to communicate in other languages without even speaking. And I wasn't just speaking to Germans. I was speaking to people from Italy, from Africa, from different countries that were there in Germany that I had friendships with. That was other languages that they didn't speak a lot of English, but we communicated and we were great friends and everything. So I think a lot of it is that no matter what your outcome is or what situation you are put in, you have to have a plan, and you always have to see the good in the plan.
mm,
And sometimes people don't, they look for all the negative stuff. Negativity is in everything that we do,
mhm,
but we never pull that out. We pull out the negative first instead of pulling out the excitement of, one, I was in Germany. I could go to Italy, Rome, France. I could go to countries that most people dreamed about. I could just drive there and pick up some wine from France and come back. So it was things of this nature. People complained about malls. Germany had great malls. I could order online and have my stuff in a nice coat bag on my door in 2 days. So you have to look at the culture, but you have to look at the good things. It's not just about going to a country, no one knows you. You have to start over. You have to figure out where you fit in. It's about going to a country, finding out, let them show you, let me show them the best of me and see
Mhm.
how it goes.
I love,
Because where you
yeah.
go, because everywhere you go, you're going to find some type of adversity. You're going to find something, but you don't have to point it out all the time. You can work through it. I feel like women are sometimes other women's answers to their questions or their prayers
Mm,
by how we deal with things.
mm. Yeah, yeah, for sure. And what I'm hearing as you're explaining these culture differences and is that you're shaping your experience through the outlook you project.
Yes,
And you're right. I mean, we are trained as human beings to automatically look for the things that are going to hurt us, that are going to stress us out or bring anxiety. That's
yes,
just a instinctual, an instinctual thing that we just do because that's just how we're programmed. Genetically, we're programmed to look out for the things that we need to fight, flight, or freeze from.
mhm,
Um, and so when we go into a new experience or even a challenge in life, it's best to look at it optimistically and look at it from a place of, okay, what do I want this to teach me? What do I want this to look like at the end of it all? Because I mean, you're right. We shape that experiences, and as adults, I mean, we have the conscious awareness to do so if we choose to. So there's a big factor of choice in that as well. Um,
yes,
so you had this great foundation in the beginning of your story. You talked about having a solid structure and
mhm,
influence from your parents, relationship demonstration. You were 5, 6 years old. You knew who you wanted to be. So those are already some strengths that not many of us come with at that age. But and so like let's talk about the motivation during these difficulties. Did you see your motivation kind of develop, or was it something that no, this was my philosophy? Because I feel like it's like this was my philosophy at a young age. I was going to make it work for me. Um, but yeah, just talk a little bit about that resilience.
Well, it came from Sunday school teachers. It
Mm,
was almost like being put in a lion's den. They would put me in situations and say, this is where you need to be. This is what you're going to learn from it, and you will do it, and you will get this out of it. Some of it I didn't have an option in saying no to
mhm,
because they saw that it would better me. And so I had to go ahead and do certain things. And let me make this clear, all the adults that were in my life were women who understood my path before I understood it. They made sure I did not go off the path. And not everyone has a path or a journey that people can see. And again, I'm very faith based. And so, because of that, I'm very straightforward with it. I don't hide myself. I am a Christian and I believe in God. And so, I had people who molded me. I had a tribe at a young age, and I still have a tribe now. And I am part of a tribe that I do the same thing for other women and children. So it is important that the women that were around me walked in the footsteps of my mother, because without that, they could not have been around me safely. And so, because of that, I believe when you are 4'11, you stutter, and people are putting you in front of people to speak. They're not putting you in front to just say hello. They're making you guest speakers of Women Day programs, and you're 7, 8 years old, standing on yellow page notebooks, trying to speak in a pulpit to a bunch of women and just to the congregation. And you're making your own sermon or your own speech on certain things. It started there. And so for me, it wasn't that I wasn't scared, it was that I had an obligation
mm,
to do. Because again, I always say this to my other women of Tuesday night, we are someone else's answers.
mm,
We just don't know it. So when we go out there and we're bold, and even if we're sick, and we go and we get through it. It's someone over here looking at you right now saying, I want to do a podcast, but I don't know how. Wow. She just showed me that just do it. I'm
Mhm.
going to try it. So
Mhm.
you never know who's watching you. So for me, I never knew who was watching me. So I might as well be myself. Either you take it or you don't. I'm okay with that, but I was still myself. And I think that's important in everything that you do. You have to be you. I can only be Franchetta. I can't be you. I can't be no one else,
Mm.
but I can truly be me. And then you either accept me or you don't. And I had to learn that a lot of people won't accept me. And I'm okay with that because I've never asked them to sit at my table and I've
Mm.
never wanted to sit at theirs.
Mhm.
So you have to know yourself. So when you look in that mirror, I see boldness, I see love, I see joy, I see pain, I see strength, I see weakness. When you can look in the mirror and truly see yourself, no one can stop you. No one can close doors in your face. No one is in control of you but you.
I love that. And I mean, it's true. Nobody can, that's really one element that we have full control over. Everything else is kind of like, I don't know. But I mean, you're absolutely right. And you're talking about this foundation of women
Mhm.
that are molding you and that are helping you overcome those fear barriers in your
Yes.
life and self-doubt, because I can just imagine someone with a speech impediment. I grew up with one too. And I had to take speech when I was younger, but um, putting yourself out there, because I know for me, I didn't come with a foundation of women that went before me and that came behind me and really just kind of helped me understand who I was becoming as a woman. That was something that I had to do on my own. So for
Yes.
women like me that don't have this support network, how do we create that for ourselves?
I think the first thing you need to do is know the people you have around you. You can't just have anyone in a tribe.
Mm,
And a lot of people love to call everybody their friend. But a friend is someone who has been through hell and back with you. It's not one that you called here and there. A friend has to have some qualifications. So, what is your qualification for a friend?
mm,
What is your qualification for a woman to be in your tribe? Yes, that woman that you want in your tribe should be someone that can help you, but also later on, you can help someone else.
mm,
So it's okay to be selfish when you are picking these women because these women are giving you fruit that you need to grow so you can give to other women. So you have to sit down and see who you have around you first. Make sure there's someone positive. They can't speak negativity into your life. They need to speak positivity and reality. I can tell you that, you know what, I loved your podcast, but in the background, I wish you would have had more flowers. Okay, that's nothing negative. But if you get someone to say, oh, I loved your podcast, but you know what, I really would have never done it like that. I would have told you to put on orange because that really brings you out. The red doesn't.
uh-huh.
That's not nothing. It's nothing positive about their delivery and how they're doing it. Someone that's in your tribe is lifting you up. They will never lift you down. They will lift you up. They will tell you when you're right. They will tell you when you're wrong. They'll tell you, don't go down this road because this brick wall you will hit, you won't bounce back from it. But if you hit this brick wall, you're going to bounce back and be better than ever. I always told my daughter and my niece that I was like, "There's some brick walls you can't hit." And
Mhm,
it that goes for women. Some brick walls you will hit and you won't come back from it.
mm,
That's why your tribe will tell you go left. Because
mm,
that wall you're gonna hit, but you're gonna learn from it. You're gonna grow. You're gonna be stronger. You're gonna be accountable. Heck, you're gonna be a badass woman when you come back from this one. But this one here, you won't come back from. You'll have mental illness. You'll have breakdown.
mm.
You won't come back whole. Whereas this one, you come back whole and better and more focused.
Mm, and that's, I mean, yeah, I mean, you're hitting with some truth. I feel it in my heart. I feel it in my spirit. I do. I mean, it is so true. It's, you want that friend that's going to say, friend, you got some lipstick on your teeth. Let's get that off. And you go out there and you go make that presentation. And that is truly rooting for you because, I mean, us as women, we are the best at tearing each other down. And
Correct.
it's hard. It's hard to find women that will truly and be genuinely authentic in lifting you up and seeing your success and celebrating that with you. Um,
Yeah.
so you definitely have to be mindful of your support networks. It's
Yes.
so, Franchetta, tell me, was there any moment in your journey that was like this big pivotal moment that really marked the turning point in your life where where you were able to look back and go, "Oh my gosh, I've come so far and look where I'm headed."
Yes. I believe when I met my husband and we moved overseas,
Mhm.
but when we came back after 9 years, we came back, I had to readjust to the United States because I had been gone 9 years straight. I'd only been back 6 months with my daughter, and then I think when she was one, maybe two or three, that was it. And so for me, I had to look at what I had to offer women, what I had to offer myself, and just in general, what I had to offer. And it goes back again to family and the women I had around me. At one point, when you're moving so much, every time you move, sometimes a little bit of you get left behind,
Mm,
and you kind of sometimes don't have all of you, and you got to do a pivot moment. And so for me was when my father passed away, when my mother passed away, was pivot moments. And they haven't been gone that long, but it was pivot because of this. And let me explain why. It's nothing to be sad about.
mm,
When my mother was alive, she had these alligator shoes and an alligator purse my dad had bought her. And I always wanted, I would wear those shoes like a clunk through them. But when she passed, the pivot moment came. I saw my own alligator shoes and my
mm,
own purse my mother had left for me. And it was something that I didn't see it, but when I put my feet into my shoes are like the alligator shoes my mom gave me, which meant I could do anything as long as I treated people correctly, loved them, tried to be there for them, and lived by the word of God.
mm,
And because of those things, I've been able to do things that sometimes I look at and I see other people having problems with the same thing that I'm dealing with. And I have to go into that aha moment of, wow, because they're going through it and
mm,
they're not getting the support. They're going through it mentally and physically. And the same things that they're going through, some of them are the same things I'm going through. And it's because of my shoes I have on. It's because my mother taught me so well that when she laid my shoes to fit my feet, I understood what that meant when she put those shoes on and she would prance around and do her thing and go out to church and go help people or whatever the case was. Is sometimes you need your own pair of alligator shoes and know what they mean.
mm,
And a lot of people don't understand that. It's like when someone say I'm a badass military spouse. Do you know the definition of badass though? It's not a bad word. The
mhm,
definition of badass for me is boldness, it's
mhm,
independent, is loving who I see in the mirror with the wrinkles and not wrinkles, with the makeup on, the makeup off,
mm,
with the little bit of weight at 4'11" that they say I'm overweight. That's a badass and still can put on an outfit and make you stop and stare.
mm,
That's being a badass. When you can go out and people will come up to you and you have 30-minute conversations with them, they walk away and your daughter say, Mom, who was that? And you say, I don't know. I was just walking through Target with her and we had a full conversation. And then she gave me a hug and she left.
mhm,
Some people have it and some people don't. God has blessed me enough that my tribe have made sure I have it.
mm,
I have it. And I can't even explain to you the have it part or the it part.
mhm,
I just know that because of my tribe, I see the difference that I make in people's life. And sometimes it brings me to tears. I'm like, oh, how did I do that? It's because of your tribe. That's why it's so important for women to have the right people around them. Because when you do, my tribe uplifts me But on my shoulders, I have my tribe. All those women that's uplifted me, I take all of them and put them on my shoulders to make sure what they gave me, I give back. So through all the hardships, the pain, the weaknesses, the brokenness, these women have taken all those words and changed them for me to say success,
Mm.
goals, objectives, businesswoman, badass military spouse. Can't no one stop you. Accountable. So see, that's the difference when people say certain words. For them, it means this in Webster, but for me, that's my definition of badass military spouse, or just being a badass woman, because you helping someone else. If you're not helping anyone else, you're not doing your job.
Mm.
I don't care who you are. If you're not helping another woman positively,
Mhm.
not negatively, but positively, you're not doing your job, because every woman has a purpose, and that is to help each other grow,
Mhm.
no matter what your race, color, religion is. Good morning. How are you doing? You look nice today. That doesn't cost anything, but yet we refuse to say it. And sometimes when people are down, like a phoenix, and trying to come out the ashes, that is what they need.
Mhm.
Good morning. How are you? Your hair looks really good today. And you keep it moving.
And I like that you're mentioning these because these are intentional conversations or intentional engagements that I like to have with is finding something on someone. Oh, that's a pretty dress. I really like how your hair is today. And it's like just a passing conversation in a bathroom or a hallway or
Yes,
wherever, but the light that it brings to someone else to have
yes,
that said to them, it's a game changer. And if that's the type of person, that's like the influence, that's the impact I want to have when I engage with other women.
yes.
But just to have them feel a little bit better about themselves, to feel a little bit more confident. And that's what I'm hearing you saying. Like it's all about intentionality. What are you
Yes.
doing every day? When you put on your alligator shoes, you're stepping into what, right? Are you stepping into a life that you have created and that is intentional and purposeful? Or are you just out there just stepping into all kinds of mess? Like
Correct. Yes.
really understanding all of those things. I hear that. And I think that's the approach that we all should take because you are absolutely right, Franchetta. When we as women come together, we can be a powerful
Yes. We can.
unity. We can. And we could, I mean, I honestly believe that we could change the world. If anything, we sure can. So let me ask you, what lessons can others learn from the experiences that you've shared, or just even maybe kind of opening up their eyes, experiences in overcoming adversity? What can we learn from those?
Know your surroundings.
Hmm.
Understand yourself. The first thing is knowing yourself, knowing your own boundaries, knowing your strength and your weaknesses, and then figuring out how are you going to handle those weaknesses. And those weaknesses need to be entwined into your strengths. They need to be able to work within some of your strengths to keep them strong. It's like a rubber band to keep them strong. And once you know your surroundings and yourself, then start planting seeds with other people. When you plant seeds with other individuals, be another woman, a man, a child, whatever the situation may be, when you plant a seed, remember you are a seed. So you're getting watered too. It's a two-way street. But if you put out negativity, then your seed is dying and you've also killed someone else, because our mouth is probably the worst gun in the world is our mouth. We
Mm-hmm.
can help someone and we can kill someone so quickly with this. So know what you want, know how you want it, know yourself, and just be purpose. Always have a purpose for the reason why you're saying things.
Mm-hmm.
You just don't agree with something. Have a purpose. I don't like to speak unless it's a purpose behind it. If it's not a purpose, you'll see me be very quiet. It needs to be a purpose. When I speak, it's for a reason and it needs to help someone. It's not just to be speaking.
Mm-hmm.
So I do believe that that's to me, that would be my tip, is to know who you are, know your surroundings, and believe in yourself, and have a foundation.
Mhm.
Because if you don't have a foundation, then what are you building? And what are you building it on? Is it
Mhm.
sand or is it concrete?
Mm.
What are you building this foundation, this accountability, all these things on? The world or you? You have to believe in you, because the world
Mm.
changes every second of the day. Instagram, Facebook, all these things change. And we try to catch up. Oh, wait, they said this. Me? No, I'm not catching up with you. I'm not running after you. But I can
Mm.
be me and put myself out there in these things positively, and
Mm.
they will get the right response. But you have to know what you want and make sure that you're doing it the right way, because everybody that goes up at some point goes down. And did you treat the people right when you're going down? Because if you did, you never go down. They'll catch you.
Mhm.
They'll
Mhm.
help you stay up.
You'll always have that safety net for sure to catch you.
Yeah.
So, Franchetta, if I had a listener that wanted to get in touch with you outside of this podcast, where could we find you?
Well, you can find me on Instagram, and it's under Franchette Dyer, and then under Vetech Business. So you can find me at those two places. And again, I'm not that big on Instagram, but it's FRANCHETTE Dyer, DYER, or Vetech Business, VETECH BUSINESS. So yes,
Awesome. Well, great. It was a pleasure having you on the show. All right,
thank
guys,
you.
Franchetta Dyer. Look for her on Instagram, Miss Badass Military Woman. All right. Thank you, everyone, for listening. I am Angelina Mojica, your life coach, sending you much love, much peace, many blessings.